All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Candidate Forum for 2022. My name is Chris Robinson. I'm the Associate Principal at Antigo Middle School, and I was asked to be the MC tonight. I keep joking that it's because I talk a lot. I'm not really sure if that's good or bad, but at least I get to just introduce some people and set forth some ground rules and let all of these fine folks do the talking. So tonight we have the privilege of hearing from six of our six board candidates that are vying for 3 seats. This is a great opportunity for all of us in attendance tonight, as well as those that are watching at home live streaming. Gotta love technology, to be able to hear from each candidate on their position and questions concerning education and how each feels they would best serve the Antigo School District. I do have a couple real quick housekeeping things. First of all, make sure that your phones are on silent so we don't have any interruptions, as well as candidates, make sure that when you're talking to speak directly into those microphones so everybody can hear. Okay? So I'm going to begin with introductions, and these are the introductions to my left, and they will be the same way that they'll appear on the ballot. So first to my left is Mike Boldig. Then it's Mary Neufeld, Angie Schreiber, Dr. Dave Bardo, Kristen Matt Miller, and Wayne Gagnon. Right. We also have 2 moderators that were student moderators. Unfortunately, one was unable to make it at the last minute, but we are very privileged to have Tori Spencer be one of our moderators and asking the questions, and Mary Kay Pregler will help her out with that. So we appreciate them. Thank you very much. So tonight we have a very specific format and timing on how the questions will be asked. The format is as follows: 2-minute opening statements from each candidate, 2-minute time limit for each questions. The same question will be answered by every candidate, alternating the candidates at each new question. And then a 2-minute closing statement question. That order will be determined by random draw at the end. A timekeeper will monitor the clock with a warning sign 15 seconds before time expires. So our moderators down here will give you some signs, whether a yellow when it's close and then the red when your time is up. Okay? One of the things that we do ask to adhere in this is the following community agreements. Be respectful of the time constraints so as to allow all to have the floor. Be respectful of your fellow candidates and citizens. And be responsible in following the format as set forth. Candidates, do you have any questions? All right, hearing none, Tori and Mary Kay, the floor is yours.
Okay, candidates, we'd like to hear an opening statement from each one of you. Mr. Bolding, you'd have 2 minutes to start with an opening statement.
Oh, thank you. I want to thank the district first for inviting me to the forum tonight. I think it's good to get everybody here and hear from all of the candidates and get their opinions and what they feel is best for the school district. I am a former board member. My daughters both graduated from here, and part of my reason for running is I have a keen interest in education, always have, and I think the future of education needs a little more guidance at this point. We're kind of hit a gray spot because of what's been going on over the last couple of years, and I think that coming back or being able to come back on the board, I can add a little calm and reason to what sometimes gets to be very contentious arguments and disagreements. And I think in this day and age, we need a little bit more of that and a little bit less of jumping up and down.
Thank you. Mary?
Go. My name is Mary Neufeld. I was born and raised here and the oldest of 7 children. After graduation, I attended and graduated from the University of Stevens Point with a degree in elementary ed grade 1 through 8. Then I went on to receive a master's degree from Viterbo University. In 1985, I returned to Antigo and taught in this district for 29 years until I retired in 2014 for a total of 35 years in the elementary education classroom. In February 2018, I was seated on the board. The most important thing for the school board is to continue to improve student achievement. We hired a superintendent who is 100% committed to this district. She is passionate about education and every single student and employee in this district. Consistent leadership is really important for student performance. These changes don't happen overnight or even in a year. The pandemic certainly did not help this situation. Education is not like a regular business. It moves very slowly and takes a lot of time. We have worked to hire quality teachers and tried to retain them. This has become a crisis across the nation and across the state and the nation. The rate of teachers leaving the profession is astronomical. The burnout rate has escalated, especially in the past 2 years. We do everything we can to support and provide our educators with the tools they need to succeed. The most important time in education is from birth to 3rd grade. Typically, the district is not involved until 4K, but what happens in a child's life before that can set the framework for the rest of their lives. Children who are exposed to books, letters, numbers, background knowledge, and many other things will have a starting point from which to grow. Over 50% of our students come from economically disadvantaged homes. Some children have had little or no exposure to reading or interacting with other children. The primary grades need to meet the kids at the level they arrive at and move them forward. We are not unique in the challenges that we face. The district is the heart of Antigo. It always needs to be about the kids and doing what is in their best interest.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Angela Schreiber. I've been a lifelong resident of the area. I'm a mom of 3 kids, 2 adult children that are doing very well, and my youngest is in high school here in Antigo. I graduated from the high school here in 1995. I was the first class to come to the new high school. I have a degree in business administration and public administration, and my professional background is in community development and workforce development. I've owned and managed local rental properties for over 23 years, and soon will begin working at Nicolay College in the grant operations program. I have a passion for community and workforce development, and I've volunteered with Habitat for Humanity. I've served on the regional North Central Workforce Development Board, which covers all of central and north central Wisconsin. I've served on the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, their regional leadership team. And I was elected 2 terms to the Langley County Board of Supervisors. In addition, I've also sat on the Fab Lab board for 3 Lakes School District when they first started their Fab Lab, and they were the first high school in the state to have a Fab Lab. I believe we are at a defining moment in our district as well as in our community. The biggest risk we can take right now would be to vote to stay with the status quo and somehow expect different results. I believe our kids deserve a great education, stability, and to be taught how to function as adults. This means how to handle failure, how to walk into a bank and open a bank account, how to apply for a job, how to interview well, how to have soft skills like various communication skills, teamwork, problem solving. That's what our kids need. In addition, I believe our board needs to provide clear and solid leadership. This means with our administration, our teachers, our staff. They need to be supported and given the resources they need. With solid leadership, I believe we can be a place that provides a positive school environment. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Dave Bardo. I'm currently on the Antigo School Board, and I'm running for re-election. Last year, I campaigned on 3 issues: the reduction of taxes, paying off our district debt early, and stopping the fight between the district and the village of Mattoon. With the help from Danny Pyatt and Jill Maddock Nelson, we were able to accomplish these objectives. The district mill rate was reduced by 1.5 mills this school year, which means your taxes have gone down. They were reduced by $1.50 per $1,000 of property value. In addition, the district debt will be paid off this school year because last year a double payment was made. What this does is frees up over $280,000 for our general fund going forward. And as to the Mattoon School, the district paid out over $200,000 in that fight. and I still believe it was the right thing to do to give the Mattoon School back to the village. I've been in education most of my life. I was the superintendent at the Wittenberg-Burnhamwood School District for 16 years, and after retiring, I served at the Leona School District for 3 years, and prior to my time on the school board, I served 6 years as a substitute teacher and substitute principal at the Elko School District. During my years of service, I was elected to the WIAA Board of Control, the WIAA Advisory Council. I was the chairman of the CISA 8 Professional Advisory Council and the president of the Central Wisconsin Association for School Management. I have a doctorate in educational leadership from Edgewood College. Carol and I have 5 children and 9 grandchildren, 2 in this district.
Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you for coming or watching this evening. I'm Kristen Matt-Miller. I'm an Antigo native, graduated from the high school class of 2005. Went on to college in Madison and came back here to raise my family. I'm the mother of 3 young children and a local healthcare provider. I'm here tonight because I'm concerned with the direction of our school district and the priorities of our current school board. We are headed down a path that leaves accountability in the past. Under our current administration, the teachers do not have the support they need to gain the respect of their students and to create an environment conducive to learning. We are spending thousands of your taxpayer dollars on reteaching, or some would say indoctrinating our teachers when they've all already have degrees in education. We need to trust our teachers to do what they have been trained to do while providing a curriculum that focuses on the basics. We have high schoolers that can't sign their name, 5th graders that don't know basic phonics, and our recent test scores show we're already behind by 3rd grade. We can do better. We need to do better. We need to get back to focusing on the basics, reading, writing, and math. Let our teachers teach instead of teaching to test, and we need to provide all of our students an opportunity to succeed. Whether they are in the top 20% or the bottom 2%, they all deserve an opportunity to do better. Our students deserve better, our teachers deserve better, our parents deserve better, and our community deserves better. We need to turn out better qualified graduates. The way we see success is by change. We need a change on the school board so we can see a change to better our community.
Thank you.
I'm Wayne Gagnon. I'm currently serving on the school board as a replacement. Over the last 2 years, we've had 2 people resign. Somehow, I guess I'm the 3rd string, so here I am. I got on the board because I think I can offer a teacher's perspective. I didn't get into education until I was in my 40s. Prior to that, I worked in the printing trades for about 20 years. In the late 1980s, I went to college at UW-Stevens Point to become a teacher. I graduated in 1992 with a bachelor's degree in English, with a writing minor, and a teaching certificate for English at the 912 level. I was 42 years old. 3 years later, I received a special ed certification. The first job I found was at an alternative school for special ed students. I was on a provisional license, and at age 46, I received that certification. Then I went back and got a master's degree from UW-Stout in school guidance and counseling. I was 52 when I got my master's degree. After teaching special ed for 15 years, I simply burned out and I couldn't do it anymore. The students I worked with needed someone who had more patience than I had to offer, so I retired. I had to do something to supplement my income, so I went back to college. I got a post-baccalaureate certification in paralegal studies from Northeast Wisconsin Technical College at the age of 62. About a year before I finished that, I started teaching at North Central Technical College as an adjunct instructor teaching communication classes, English and speech, part-time. I had to go back to school a couple of years ago to keep my certification to teach at the tech schools. I finished up 2 years ago at the age of 69. I had to get 18 credits of English at a master's degree level. So I can offer a unique perspective as a teacher and a student, and I think that's a perspective that should not be overlooked on the school board. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll begin with the questioning. We will ask each one of you the same question. We'll start with Mr. Boulding. What are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? What are some district challenges that you will face if elected?
Two to three strengths. Well, number one, I think we've got really some outstanding facilities in our district for starters. And we've also got some outstanding teachers. People are very quick to criticize, I think, that teachers aren't doing this or aren't doing that. But I think a lot of it is that things are changing, and they're changing constantly. But I think our facilities and our teachers are our biggest strength, because it doesn't make any difference what building they're in. They're still wanting to work with the kids, and those that want to stay with the district and continue to work for us, I think that's a positive thing. To answer the second part of the question, I think my past experience as a board member, the fact that I've been going to board meetings either virtually or in person fairly regularly for the last 13 years. I think I know some of the issues that are involving us now, and I think the best thing we can do is just to face the problems that we have, and we know we have them, but deal with them honestly and understand the fact that it's going to take time to resolve all these issues. It's not instantaneous. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. It took us, unfortunately, a long time to get to where we are. It's going to take us a little bit longer to get back to where we want to be.
Thank you. Mary Neufeld? What are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? And what are some district challenges that you will face if elected?
I believe our strengths lie, and of course, everybody's going to have their own opinion. One of our strengths is our administrative staff. They're compassionate, they're dedicated to the community, to the district, to the students. I think that a lot of times, you know, when the report card came out, of course, everybody was upset with it, as we all should be, but, you know, they're always quick to point fingers and to do the blame, and I think there's a lot of things that people don't realize, like when shortly after I retired, the reading series was taken away at the elementary level, and the staff was given nothing to replace it for 2 years. And just in our building, we lost 7 primary teachers, and therefore they had a brand new young staff, fresh out of college, coming in with nothing to guide them. You know, we would have probably been okay having accumulated a lot of things, but you know, there's just a lot of things that have occurred. We adopted this new reading series. Personally, I don't think it was the best series considering our socioeconomic situation in the area. It is more for a more affluent school district, kids with more background knowledge that had a better preparation before coming to school. Of course, the challenges, we still have our challenges of funding and teacher retention, and hopefully these are some things that you'll ask us about as we go along. Thanks.
Andy Schreiber? What are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? What are some district challenges that you will face if elected?
2 or 3 strengths would be, I would say that we have a huge community buy-in in our community, which is awesome. And with that, I think that when we do things with our district, such as programs or clubs, like band, looking for new band uniforms or something with the football, our community buy-in is huge. We rally around the troops, so to speak. It brings everybody together. And I think we also have you know, great kids in our district. We have great teachers who really want to see the kids improve. We need to give them, we need to find out what they really need, support-wise and resource-wise, so that way we as a board, we can provide that. As for challenges, I think we need to have real and honest conversations. And sometimes those are going to be hard conversations to have. We need to determine the real issues and then also look at the real consequences of what we're implementing. As Mary touched on, the funding is a huge issue for our district as well. You know, the state's way of funding schools it doesn't work well for us. It doesn't provide us nearly enough funding. So we need to have some legislative action with that to make improvements.
Thank you. Dr. Bardo, what are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? What are some district challenges that you will face if elected?
Well, I think for the size school we are, we have lots of extracurricular opportunities, whether it be sports or clubs, especially for our high school students. Our music program is amazing. The fact that our band is going to the Rose Bowl Parade in January. If you came to the musical this past 2 weeks, again, amazing. The kids that were in this, in The Little Mermaid were just truly outstanding. Our challenges, of course, starts with funding, because the way it's set up is we are losing students. And when you lose students, you get less money because the state pays you a certain amount according to each student. So Tim is projecting that we're probably going to have about a $700,000 deficit. So cuts will have to be made. We as parents, grandparents, we have budgets. We know that we have to make sure that what we spend is within those budgets. Well, the school district has a budget also. We need to make sure that we can balance that budget as we go forward, and it's going to get tougher and tougher because we're still losing students. We have students, especially in the southern part of the district, who don't go here anymore, and we pay about $1 million of our tax money out to other districts around us that are serving our schools.
Thank you. Kristen Matt Miller, what are 2 strengths of which our district can be proud? And what are some district challenges that you will face if elected?
So as previously mentioned, I think our community is our biggest strength. We have a very supportive community, whether it's for the school itself or co-curricular activities. If a team goes to state, the entire community is here to support them. We need to get the community more involved with the school district and listen to their ideas and implement them and have their voices heard when decision making occurs. Another strength is our teaching staff. They're dedicated to the students. They want to see them succeed. My mother is a retired teacher, and I assure you that her kids were her kids. Sometimes I thought they were loved more than me. Not true, but they take them in as if they're their own, so we need to be supportive of the teachers. I think the biggest challenge right now is the environment that's been created. It's not an environment conducive to learning. Teachers spend half the class period to get one child's behavior under control, while there's 25 other students there that were there to learn that day. Our kids have missed enough school. We need to have more efficient learning, more efficient lessons, spending less time testing and actually looking at the data that's there so that our kids can learn more. I think that we need to stop cutting class time, and we need to ensure that when kids are here, they're here to learn, and the kids that aren't here to learn need to obtain the resources that they need outside of the classroom.
Thank you. Wayne Gagnon, what are 2 to 3 strengths of which our district can be proud? And what are some district challenges that you will face if elected?
I think one of our biggest strengths are our teachers. We have a dedicated staff who want to do the best for the kids. When COVID hit 2 years ago, they all stepped up. It was a challenging time. My own experience, I'm an adjunct at North Central Tech and Nicolet, and I spent 2 weeks trying to get everything organized to switch from face-to-face to virtual school. I know how challenging it was for me, and I cannot imagine how challenging it had to be for our K-12 teachers, but they did it, and they're continuing to do it. Some of the classrooms are still, as far as I can know, some classrooms are still having students in class and virtual, which is uniquely challenging. And they did it, and they continue to do it. We have a quality staff. One of the biggest challenges we face is hanging on to that staff. In the last several years, we've been hemorrhaging teachers. They've been going to other districts for various reasons. We need to figure out how to hang on to them because they're invaluable. They're the ones who are carrying the load. They're the ones who are doing the heavy lifting, and they need all the support we can give them. I've heard people say that they want to make Antigo a destination district. We want to attract quality teachers, quality young teachers who will hang around for quite a while. We need to figure out how to hang on to our experienced teachers also, because they have resources and experience that cannot be replaced. So I think those are the two things. Some people have mentioned school funding. That's another big issue, and that none of these situations are unique to Antigo. Every school in the country is facing a teacher shortage, but we have to figure out what to do to hang on to good quality teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, on to question number 2. We'll start with Mary Neufeld. As a future board member, how would you work to understand the similarities and differences of opinions from the community and promote community engagement in the decision-making process?
Torrance, I didn't get the last part. It was kind of.
Do you just want me to read it over?
Oh, if you would, please, thanks.
As a future board member, how would you work to understand the similarities and differences of opinions from the community and promote community engagement in the decision-making process?
As the old African proverb goes, it takes a village to raise a child. Community engagement can be defined in a number of different ways. Overall, it's working collaboratively with individuals or groups of people that are concerned about what is happening within our district. The goal of engaging the community is to help strengthen the school system. Topics can vary from student achievement, strengthening the community in schools, and hot topic issues such as behaviors and bullying. Everyone has a stake in successful schools and communities. Collaboration as partners can help solve complex problems by bringing together perspectives and experiences. For school boards, the stakeholders can be parents, guardians, students, staff, taxpayers, local business people, alumni. Everyone needs to be considered equally important. School boards can interact with their community in a variety of ways. You need to establish trust. This cannot be done if stakeholders are not respectful of each other and their opinions. Communities need to set good examples for the children. Negativity will get the community nowhere except to create a us and them situation. Everyone's most important job right now is to improve student achievement. It has to be about the kids and do what's in their best interest to develop lifelong learners and become productive members of society. I know all of us want the same thing. I see on the signs around town that is asking the board to recognize community input. For 2 years, we have listened to input on only one issue. I was questioned about whether I was listening. That was all I did. I heard and understood all sides of the issue. I struggled, but for me it came down how to keep the kids in school and at the same time keep the kids and the staff safe. Those 2 years were not what I consider community engagement. We were disrespected, yelled at, and called names. I guess that's where the trust issue on the signs comes in. There were attempts to compromise, but that's tough to do when we all want all the decisions to go our way.
Thank you.
Okay, Angie. As a future board member, how would you work to understand the similarities and differences of opinions from the community and promote community engagement in the decision-making process?
So, first, to understand the differences and similarities in opinions, I say that we need to really actively listen to all the different perspectives, whether we agree with them or not. I think we also need to do our own research outside of the board. We shouldn't be rubber stamping any motions or anything just because we don't know really the full picture. We don't know the other avenues that could be looked at. We need to make sure that the board has as much info on as possible to make an educated decision as well. And to promote community engagement, I think that we need to bring back committees. We need to create plans for these committees and they need to have actionable items that they bring back to us and report back to the full board on. So that way people don't feel like they have to micromanage and go to all the different meetings just so they know what's going on. I think another idea would be to rotate these meetings throughout the different schools. And by that I mean like we could show the positives of the schools, the different programs that the schools have, highlighting that, and then also we could show each school's struggles. You know, the small classrooms. Do we have counselors that are still working out of closets, for example? You know, bringing that information forward through the community with the means of holding the meetings at different schools or via social media or having a question and answer session that for frequently answered or asked questions and then the board could answer that in various ways. I think those are all different ways that we could promote community engagement.
Thank you. Dave Bardo. As a future board member, how would you work to understand the similarities and differences of opinions from the community and promote community engagement in the decision-making process?
First of all, we as board members have to listen to the public, and we have to treat them with dignity. We need to be honest with the public, not only about our successes, but about our failures. The 6 of us that are running for the school board all come from different backgrounds, have different ideas, and it's the job of the president of the board to give everybody an opportunity to share those ideas and then come up with the best answers for our community and our kids that are in the school system. When it comes to community engagement, I think there are many things that we could survey our parents about that we don't. For example, this year our survey went out that asked parents if on Wednesdays when we stop school for an hour, do you want to pick up your child right away or stay at school and be picked up at the normal time? Maybe the better survey would have been, are you in favor of an hour early out on Wednesdays every week, or are you against it? Because we would have gotten better information from our parents as to what we're doing with our calendar. We're getting ESSER funds that are about $7 million. Part of getting ESSER funds, which are extra federal dollars that this district gets, part of it is to have a question and answer time with parents and community members so that they can give their ideas.
Christine Matt Miller. As a future board member, how would you work to understand the similarities and differences of opinions from the community and promote community engagement in the decision-making process?
So just to reiterate what was earlier said, we need to listen, but in order to listen, you need to be present in the community. So I think as a board member, we should all be present in the community, and out in the community, we are just an individual, but we can listen to what they have to say, ask questions till we understand where their opinion is coming from, and then you bring that to the board, because only as a board can we make decisions. In the community, we're just individuals, and we need to listen. To take that to how we're going to make them their input in decision making, I'll pick up right where Dave left off. ESSER funds or COVID money, part of receiving that money is community input, and there's been no forum, there's been no question and answer session, there has been no opportunity for the community to bring their opinions to the board. We need to have those opportunities for the community to do that. We also need the board to be more approachable. Currently, the agenda is released on a Friday for a Tuesday meeting. That doesn't give very many of us time to prepare or to look into if there is a concern that we have, or the time to do the research that we would have to feel comfortable to bring it to the board. Then if a community member does approach, they're not answered. They're acknowledged, maybe a thank you, but they should be given an answer, or at least a timeline in order to expect an answer. It takes a lot of courage to come to the board, and we need to give them answers when they're there. In addition, we can make the meetings on Mondays so that more community members are able to attend. We could hold it at the VALM. I bet you all can hear me a lot better today in the VALM Theater than you can at the middle school and the IMC. Small little changes like that increase the transparency and can help us include the community more with our decisions.
Thank you. Wayne Gagnon. As a future board member, how would you work to understand the similarities and differences of opinions from the community and promote community engagement in the decision-making process?
Well, I'm going to echo what everybody else said about listening. But we have to listen with respect. We're not always going to agree on everything. We can't. It's just not within human nature to agree with everything everybody else says. We have to have a larger degree of civility. I've been in some school board meetings where things were pretty contentious. There has to be compromise. Compromise, you meet in the middle. If there's an issue that's very polarizing, you've got to find a way to solve it together. Not everybody is going to get everything they want. That's just not realistic. There has to be compromise. There are no easy answers to a lot of these issues we're facing today, but we have to listen to each other. As far as community involvement, I'm listening to you guys, and I kind of agree. We could probably do a better job on that. And how do we go about that? We'll have to work on that. But I think respect is paramount. Up until last year, I was a part-time guidance counselor at All Saints Catholic School here, and one thing I talked to the little kids about, first, second, third grade, was respect. And respect is just treating people the way you want to be treated. And I think that's key. So listening, respect, and compromise. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Boldig. As a future board member, how would you work to understand the similarities and differences of opinions from the community and promote community engagement in the decision-making process?
Well, I've heard a lot of good commentary from my fellow candidates up here, and one of them hits a point very home. Respect. I also have been at board meetings where I've seen community members address the board, and their sound level starts at a 10 and goes up to a 15. And it shouldn't go that high, and it's not showing any respect for the board, or for the board to show respect for a community member when they come in there and all they're doing is yelling at them. Mr. Gagnon hit it on the head. You have to have compromise. There is no one side being always right and the other side not being right, or vice versa. You have to find some midpoint to come to a solution that will benefit the majority of the community. Promoting community engagement, having listening sessions is good. The last I looked, board meetings were open to the public. And I've been on the board for several years where you could sit there and maybe one or two people would show up at a board meeting. I disagree with the idea that the board agenda has to be produced any sooner than it is. I think putting it out on a Friday for a meeting on the next week is doing the job that it's supposed to do. When I was on the board, I reviewed the meeting minutes or the meeting agenda at least 2 or 3 times before a meeting, so I was prepared. And that's what I think you have to do, is make sure that when you come to these meetings, you have preparation in place, and that way you can conduct yourselves in a positive manner.
Thank you.
Question number 3. Communication is important. This is for Angie. Communication is important between the administration and board, between fellow board members, and also between the board and the community. What would you do to promote strong systems of communication in those areas?
That's a really great question. So I totally agree that it's very important that we have great communication between the Board of Education and the administration, because it's our job to provide good, solid leadership with clear directives to our administration, and then they can take that and implement that. And I don't think that that's happening right now. I think that we are lacking in good, solid leadership and in defining goals. I think I would like to see more of like a strategic plan and put into place that has measurable, trackable goals that we can follow. That goes for everything from the administration to the curriculum to teachers as a whole. Now, I'm not talking about more testing. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about making sure that our district is moving in the right direction. If we don't have some kind of plan in place to do that, and if we're not tracking that, how do we know that we're staying in the right direction? I think that's something that we really need to work on. And you're absolutely right. The communication is a huge component of that. But without good leadership and without clear directive, how do you have good communication, really?
Thank you. Dave? Communication is important between the administration and board, between fellow board members, and also between the board and the community. What would you do to promote strong systems of communication in those areas?
Well, first of all, the expectation is that administration works with the board. It's imperative that they communicate well with the board, either through emails, even just face-to-face talking, back and forth. It's important that administrators, as I was one, know that what the board is feeling, where the board wants to take the district. It's also important for the district administration to let the board know where they would like to go so that you end up on the same page. It's a little tougher when you're talking board member to board member because everybody has different ideas, but the big thing is to treat every other board member with dignity and respect. We all have different ideas. We all come from different backgrounds. But we have to work together, and sometimes there's 9-0 votes, and sometimes there's 5-4. And the 4 have to be big about it, and accept what the majority of the board wants. As far as board to community, I believe the board members need to be out in the community. They need to especially be at school activities. It's important to be seen in public. It's as important that parents and community members get to know you away from the board and see you as a person in the community that cares about their kids.
Thank you. Kristen, communication is important between the administration and board, between fellow board members, and also between the board and the community. What would you do to promote strong systems of communication in those areas?
So I think it starts with setting expectations. If in any employee-employer relationship, the expectations are set, then you follow up to see if the goal has been obtained, what obstacles were encountered, reset the expectation, and we all move forward. So to do that, specific goals need to be set. What are our goals for this week? What are the goals for this month? What are the goals for this quarter? What are the goals for this school year? We can get together then monthly at our meetings and see how we've moved forward in meeting those goals. When the expectations are set, they need to then be followed through with. For example, if the board makes a motion that only COVID-positive kids are going to be sent home, and your staff members continue to send home whoever they thought they should, that expectation has gone wrong. Was there a miscommunication? Did we not understand what that motion meant? What was missing? Let's get together, let's talk about it, reset that expectation, and move forward. I think between board to board members, we need to have a little bit more open mind. It seems right now on the board, everyone comes in with the decisions already made. There's no discussion, let's vote and move on. There's no compromise. For instance, with the marching band uniforms, that was brought to the board. They said yes, they said no, move on. How about a conversation about go to the community, raise X amount of dollars, we'll match that. There's a compromise I think everyone maybe could have agreed on, but there was no compromise, there was no discussion. So we need to set expectations, we need to set goals, and we need to come to the board meetings with open minds.
Thank you. Wayne, communication is important between the administration and board, between fellow board members, and also between the board and the community. What would you do to promote strong systems of communication in those areas?
Well, getting kind of back to what I said last time, half of communicating is listening, and we just have to listen to each other's opinions respectfully. Board-to-board communication. We all have each other's email address. If somebody has a question for me, they can email me, they can contact me. Any administrator knows how to get a hold of any board member at any time. As far as the band uniform goes, we compromised on that. It was going to be $50,000. The board agreed to pay $25,000 of that, and from what I've heard recently, the rest of the balance of the money has been allocated as they came up with it. I'm not sure where, but that was discussed at several meetings. So there was a lot of discussion about that. Again, half of communicating is listening. We have to listen to each other. And if we disagree with each other, that's okay. It's okay to disagree with each other. We can do that. If an administrator has a question for a board member, contact us. You have our email addresses. I've seen several presentations at board meetings by administrators about what they're doing in the school district. And kind of getting back to what Mike said, we have a lot of room to improve, and we are improving slowly, but these things are not going to happen overnight. We've just come off of a 2-year period where education was kind of flattened nationwide, probably worldwide. It's going to take us a long time to come out of that, but our teachers are resilient, our students are resilient, and by communicating with each other, we can do it. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, communication is important between the administration and board, between fellow board members, and also between the board and the community. What would you do to promote strong systems of communication in these areas?
Well, first off, I think communication is fair. You have to have it, period, because if you don't communicate, nobody's going to get any ideas. You're not going to understand things. There's the venues of email, there's telephones, there's cell phones, there's fax machines that still work, that some people still use. The communication methods are there, and if the board has questions or if administration has questions, they ask them. That's the way you're going to get the response. You have to just use the available information that's there. Now, as far as communication with the community, I think it's imperative that the board and the district are looking at right now, they're looking at working with a communications firm. It's coming up in tomorrow night's board meeting. That to do a better job of communicating with the community, to have somebody to assist us to get the right information out and to produce that for the community so they can become informed. Quite frankly, one communication is what we're doing here tonight. This is open to the community. It's open, being broadcast over social media and YouTube. I don't see the room filled up. And that to me is a little bothersome, because if the community wants that information, you would think that they would be here. So there's a little bit of apathy involved in all of this too, where people aren't showing that interest. And it's hard for this group and the current board to really sit here and say, well, we want to communicate with you, but are you listening?
Thank you. Mary, communication is important between the administration and board, between fellow board members, and also between the board and the community. What would you do to promote strong systems of communication in those areas?
Well, I've listened, this was my chance to listen to the other 5 comments and things that were made. Back to the band uniforms quickly. We didn't have a lot of time. We had a date that they had to be ordered by, where we would get a certain price, so that was the deal with the band uniforms. I was the one that made the motion to give them the $25,000, not the $50,000, just so they could get them ordered, so they would have them in time for the Rose Bowl parade and get everything organized. Communication is huge, but it's got to be the right kind of communication. I never walk into a board meeting with my mind already made up. As a matter of fact, if you've watched any of the board meetings, there are times where I will ask Mary Kay to pass and come back to me, because the decisions that we make are very difficult. We have been at board meetings where things have been presented or passed out a couple of times here, where we had meetings. Everybody in the audience already had handouts and things that the board hadn't seen yet. And I thought that that was wrong. The little back door, there's, groups getting together, board members getting together and talking. They're not meeting the quorum or anything like that, but they're meeting with other people in the community. I speak to people in the community about their concerns. I don't go to them and have an agenda. I'm here for the kids and to do what's best for the kids and to do what's best for our staff and to be able to keep them.
Thank you.
On to question 4. We'll start with Dave. How does a school board member balance the need to provide an equitable, quality education for all students in Antigo with the need to be fiscally responsible to the community?
Can you repeat it? I missed a couple words.
How does a school board member balance the need to provide an equitable, quality education for all students in Antigo with the need to be fiscally responsible to the community?
It's probably the hardest job we have. My goal as a board member is to make sure that every student who comes to this school district, we take them from where they come in with what they know, and we take them, each and every one, no matter their color, no matter their religion, we take them as far as we can. Doesn't matter if they're in the top 10% or the bottom 10%. We try to take them as far as we can to teach them math, reading, science, history. Because every child deserves the best that we can give them. So that's how we make it equitable. We try to treat everyone equally so that they get the best education they can. The hard part is the fiscal responsibility. And again, it comes back to the school formula, the amount of money this school district gets. We have to give teachers enough money to keep them in this district. So you have challenges as a board member to especially take care of the community when it comes to their taxes. And so that's why I said earlier, we have to make sure we have a balanced budget.
Thank you. Kristen? How does a school board member balance the need to provide an equitable, quality education for all students in Antigo with the need to be fiscally responsible to the community?
So I think a lot of the focus right now is on the bottom 1% that haven't grasped the concepts yet and that need the additional help. And I am very grateful that we're reaching out to that group of students. But I think we need to look at what harm we're doing to the other 99%. Are we continuing to challenge them? Are we continuing with AP courses? Or are those students just going to plateau because all we look at is growth? It's a lot easier to grow if you're on the bottom half, so are those students getting the majority of the focus? The students that have already met the max, or are we just pushing them to the side until the next test? That's my concern right now, because every student needs to have the opportunity to improve. And I think the way to do that is to look at the resources that we have and if we're using them to the fullest extent. We have specialized staff. Are we using that staff? We have numerous classrooms. Are the kids in the right classrooms? Those are types of things we can use to help balance the budget. I think we need to look at our return on investment instead of having set salary or set bonuses and set raises for all teachers and all staff members. We should have some performance-based evaluations to provide a little incentive for all teachers to do better, knowing that it's going to be on a bell curve that you strive to be at the top. And I'm not saying any teacher's not doing that, but if we put the incentive in there instead of an expectation, we might see better results. That goes for support staff, teachers, and administration alike.
Thank you. Wayne, how does a school board member balance the need to provide an equitable, quality education for all students in Antigo with the need to be fiscally responsible to the community?
Education is expensive. There's no doubt about it. It costs money to educate a child, and it's an investment that we cannot afford not to make. You don't see the results on that investment right away. You see it years down the road when your students go on to live productive lives and become quality citizens. Everybody in education wants a bigger piece of the pie. My daughter's involved with WATAG, Wisconsin Association for Talented and Gifted Education, and they just got their budget statewide increased by 100, I think it was almost doubled. Well, gifted education in Wisconsin is still getting only less than $1 million a year when the states around us are giving tens of $millions to gifted education. Everybody wants a bigger piece of the pie. We need a bigger pie. We need to tell our legislators that we just need more money in education, period, across the board. We can't continue to cut funding, to take money away from it and expect better results. Any fool knows you can't solve a problem by simply throwing money at it. But to think you cannot fund something and expect it to improve is, I guess to me, that's just willful stupidity. We have to give our students and our teachers the resources that they need, and that involves money, period. And we all have to be willing to pay our fair share. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike, how does a school board member balance the need to provide an equitable, quality education for all students in Antigo with the need to be fiscally responsible to the community?
Well, I think historically in the Antigo area, fiscal responsibility has been big. This district has, in my time here, has had 2 business managers who understand the needs of the community and do their best to keep the tax burden to the community in check. Little known fact that maybe some of you understand is that probably 10, 15 years ago, taxes were over $20 per thousand. Right now, they're under 10. That tells me we're being fiscally responsible as a district. Now, education-wise, to be fiscally responsible is you have to maintain your staff and your faculty and give them the tools to give those kids the education, and that does take money. Now, that money comes partially from the state, partially from the current taxpayers. The formula is pretty simple. When taxes, when the state revenues to us go up, our taxes go down. If the state cuts funding to us, the local taxes go up just to maintain the budget. It's a delicate balance, but I believe that this community already does it, and I think they do it in a fairly equitable manner to everybody to work to give a good education.
Thank you. Mary? How does a school board member balance the need to provide an equitable, quality education for all students in Antigo with the need to be fiscally responsible to the community?
In 2017, there was a group of 16 bipartisan lawmakers that got together, and the Wisconsin Blue Ribbon Commission on School Funding was established. They came up with 28 recommendations to improve and increase school fundings. One of them was a sparsity aid. Our district, area-wise, is one of the largest districts in the state, with about 540 square miles. The sparsity aid would provide, if you have a district with fewer than 750 students, if there are fewer than 10 students per square mile, you would get more funding. And our district has fewer than 10 kids per square mile, so therefore, in my mind, I'm thinking we should be able to get more funding too. Special ed the special ed funding is a whole nother, would take way longer than 2 minutes. They recommend the district, because we're economically disadvantaged, that we get reimbursed for those students. We have over 50% economically disadvantaged, and 2 of our elementary schools are over 70% economically disadvantaged. The commission also suggests or recommends restoring the 2/3 funding, which was eliminated in 2003. Historically, this community, we cannot run a referendum. I mean, that's just like a dirty word. The only time a referendum had ever passed was, I think it was back in the 90s, it was a spending cap, a spending limit. What we have to do is keep lobbying our legislators to come up with fair funding for our district. Kristen, I want to talk about when you mentioned the kids in the lower 1%. You know, it's so hard when you talk about cuts and eliminating things. Gifted and talented, our gifted and talented program was eliminated. Am I done? No way. All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Angie? How does a school board member balance the need to provide an equitable, quality education for all students in Antigo with the need to be fiscally responsible to the community?
So I've heard a lot of talk on the fiscal responsibility. I think we all have agreed that we need to be fiscally responsible. But we have some very differentiations of what that means. When I think of fiscal responsibility, I want to understand our school budget. I want to know where our funds are going and for what. Right now, I think there's a lot of confusion of where our spending is going. And in order to provide good quality education to everybody, we need to be focused on the right areas. For example, we could be using the ESSER funds to be hiring more teacher aides. And we desperately need more teacher aides in our elementary schools to help the teachers to bring up the kids that are falling behind. We need that money going there. But instead, we're spending it on very expensive coaching services to teach our teachers how to teach, which I thought that's what they went to school for. So I think that's the biggest thing is we as school board members would need to know more in-depth information on what exactly the funds are being used for and have that explained to us in detail, which I don't think happens.
Thank you.
Okay, on to question number 5. Kristen, we'll start with you. We are facing teacher shortages in many areas of the state. How can Antigo recruit and retain highly qualified teachers for our students?
So I think back to creating an environment that a teacher wants to teach in. If you hear of a district where there are a lot of behavior issues, a teacher's not going to want to teach there no matter how much they get paid. So we need to get that under control. Students thrive in a structured environment with consequences. I think that's evident from the issue at the high school in the fall with the kids roaming the halls. First question, what happened so that students thought that was okay to roam the halls? Second, they put a rule in place with consequences, and it took care of the problem. Kids thrive off of structure. So we need to provide a good morale environment that a teacher or any staff member would want to be in. And the other side is obviously money. It takes money to pay these teachers to want to be here. So we need to look at, like I said before, our resources and if we're using everything to the fullest so that we have the money that we can afford to pay the teachers to be here, instead of just handing out money left and right, making sure it's going to the places that are needed the most.
Thank you. Wayne, we are facing teacher shortages in many areas of the state. How can Antigo recruit and retain highly qualified teachers for our students?
Well, I think in order to make our district attractive to new coming teachers, we have to find out why so many of our teachers are leaving. In the last several years, as I said before, we've been hemorrhaging teachers, and we have to figure out why. I've heard a lot of teachers who have left are friends of mine, and they're saying it's not just about the money. Money is an issue. We have to make our district attractive to teachers. We have to support our teachers. We have to stand behind them. We have to trust them as professionals because they know what they're doing. When a teacher goes to college to become a teacher, they study their subject matter, but they also study psychology to figure out to see how people think. They study brain development to see how children learn, and a whole host of other subjects. It makes them a very well-rounded person. We have to make it financially feasible for them. Many of these people are coming out of school with several $1,000s in student debt. If we're going to hire them at a low wage, they're not going to come here. I think right now our starting wage is for a new first-year teacher is right around $40,000 or something like that. As an adjunct instructor at North Central Technical College, I'm working with people who are going to be welders and machinists for a 1-year or 2-year certificate. They're going to start at about $30,000 or $35,000 a year, and within a year or two, they'll be making a lot more than that. We have to make education a lot more attractive financially for teachers. This isn't exclusive to Antigo, it's a nationwide problem. Teachers need to feel supported, respected, and paid a wage that's commensurate with what they have invested in their education.
Thank you. Mike, we are facing teacher shortages in many areas of the state. How can Antigo recruit and retain highly qualified teachers for our students?
Well, I think Wayne kind of stole my thunder, what I've been thinking while I've been listening to the other questions, but
You're welcome.
thank you. But it's respect. Right now, used to be that if a parent was called in to have a conference with a teacher because there was a problem with a child or whatever, it was the child that was in trouble. Nowadays, it's the parents come in and why are you doing this to my kid? And I think that's problematic. I think the disrespect that teachers are shown these days is what's driving a lot of them out of the profession. Putting extra monies out there for them to try to make it attractive for them to come to a district and to retain the help, yeah, that helps. But the community has to start showing a little more respect for the profession and stop treating them like pariahs.
Thank you. Mary, we are facing teacher shortages in many areas of the state. How can Antigo recruit and retain highly qualified teachers for our students?
you know, we're not unique in this situation. It's nationwide. I was just reading I was just reading an article about 48% of teachers surveyed on this online marketplace, Teachers Pay Teachers, that in November considered changing their profession, and that was up 32% from June. Teachers, and I don't want to make it sound like secondary teachers don't work just as hard as elementary teachers, but it's an entirely different, it's a different beast. You are in the classroom, you are with those kids all day, every day. And they're 6 or 7 or 8, and a lot of these kids, you are their person. Their thoughts might be, who's picking me up tonight? Where are we going? You know, what's happening to me? You're like the foundation that sets their tone, and then you can work on the academics. If the kids don't feel safe with you, then they're not going to be able to learn. And because of this, I think teachers have so much that they're responsible for, and plus they've got meetings and they need more planning time and budgets for their materials, and they have concerns, and they, you know, we talk about the social emotional learning. The teachers they went through a lot in the last 2 years. And I would hear people, you know, 10 years ago, people would say, oh, you teachers, you have it made. And after the first week of virtual learning, I was hearing, oh my God, how do you do it? They're at home with their kids, and it was like a newfound respect. Teachers are, a lot of the time, very underappreciated, and we need to change that.
Thank you. Angie, we are facing teacher shortages in many areas of the state. How can Antigo recruit and retain highly qualified teachers for our students?
I think, excuse me, I think a lot of it goes back to the environment that they're working in. Because we can offer substantial increase in pay for new teachers or the teachers that we have now, but if they hate where they work, it isn't going to matter. They're going to go to a different school district. They're going to go to White Lake. They're going to go to Merrill. They're going to leave us. One issue that we have is when we do have teachers leave, they complete an exit interview, but the board does not see that information. So we don't even know why they're leaving. How can we fix a problem if we don't know what it is? And then same with the families. When students are, when parents decide to take their kids to a different school, we should have an exit interview with them and find out exactly why. Is it because of the student achievement? Is it because of an issue with a certain school? I mean, what's going on? We're missing that key component. I think that we need to create a good school climate. And by doing that, that means having a positive place to come, whether you're a student, whether you're a teacher. I think you should not dread going to work on Monday, and not look forward to getting out on a Friday and not having to come back for 2 days. That's not where we want to be. We need to talk to our teachers, find out what they need, and find out what they need for resources, find out what they need for support, and be able to have those honest conversations and know that the school board backs them up. We're there for them. Our administration is there for them. We need to hold students accountable. If they're acting out in a class, they should be out of that class. This class doesn't need to adjust to that one student that's causing the issues. It needs to be the other way around.
Thank you. Dave, we are facing teacher shortages in many areas of the state. How can Antigo recruit and retain highly qualified teachers for our students?
It's a tough problem because Antigo doesn't have even what Wausau, DC Everest has just 20 miles away. So you have young teachers, if they like to hunt, if they like to bowl, they'll probably come to Antigo. If they like to fish, they'll they'll come to Antigo. But think about our millennials. Yeah, they're in their phones. They don't even talk to people anymore. I had a teacher that used to work as for the school play, and it was a combined 2 schools. And she used to get all the gossip because the kids would be talking as they rode back and forth. Guess what? About 10 years ago, she didn't get anything because the person in the back seat was texting the girl in the front seat. No comments. That's part of our problem. Pay, yeah, we have to probably increase what we pay teachers to get them here. We have to go against Wausau, DC Everest, Merrill, and they pay more than us. So you have a teacher that comes to this area, wants to get back home, and gets $4,000 to $8,000 more to go to DC Everest. Are they going to come here? In reality, they probably won't unless they have a really good reason, or they grew up here and they want to come home to Antigo. And that's how we're going to get them.
Okay, on to question number 6. We'll start with Wayne. What are your best hopes for the future of the school district? How would your aspirations help our district, our students, and the Antigo community?
Of course, I got to be the first one to answer this. I can't listen to anybody else, so I'm at a disadvantage here. My aspirations for Antigo, again, would be to make this a destination district for quality teachers. Quality teachers are going to produce quality students. But again, the teachers have to feel supported. Can you repeat the question, please?
What are your best hopes for the future of the school district? How would your aspirations help our district, our students, and the Antigo community?
It would help the district by raising our reputation, by improving our reputation. Right now, we're kind of, I guess, a pariah. Getting back to the last question, we have to find out why we're losing so many teachers and attract quality teachers. It would improve the community. We have a unique situation right now in Antigo. A lot of people are telecommuting. I was talking to somebody last summer, and they moved here from Minneapolis because they could work from home. Well, if somebody is going to move to the Antigo area and they have roots or a job in Minneapolis or Chicago or Milwaukee, and they can work from home, one of the things they're going to look at is the quality of the school district, because the quality of the school district says something about the quality of your community. If they have children, they'll strongly consider Antigo if our school provides a quality education. If we could show that many of our students go on to four-year universities or two-year technical colleges and succeed, if our track record in that regard is good, we'll attract more quality people to the community. As far as manufacturing industries go, those jobs are hard to come by, and they're getting harder to come by all the time. So I think the telecommuter is kind of an underutilized resource that we should probably pay attention to, and I could probably say a lot more than that, but I'm out of time, so thanks.
Thank you. Mike, what are your best hopes for the future of the school district? How would your aspirations help our district, our students, and the Antigo community?
I think the best hopes for the future for the district is that we can continue to try to improve our testing scores. That seems to be the barometer that everybody goes by. There was a presentation earlier this year at one of the board meetings that showed there's some modest increases going on, but that's on our own testing and stuff. And are we teaching to the test? I would say not necessarily, but I think to improve that environment and get the kids to where they want to be is just to continue to build on what was started. Drastic change doesn't necessarily mean a good thing. We've in my time on the board, there was a span when I went through 5 different administrators in a 5-year period. That doesn't bode well for a district. That is problematic, because then you can't build any continuity, you can't build any trust, you can't build the educational system because everything's changing all the time. So I think the best thing we can do for the future is take the path we've started on, build on that, and continue to make this a community, as Wayne put it, make it a destination. Let's get people that want to come here and stay here and be part of the community.
Thank you. Mary, what are your best hopes for the future of the school district? How would your aspirations help our district, our students, and the Antigo community?
Well, like Mike said, the test scores, I would like to see, I wish that every person in the district could go into an primary classroom, and back to now I can go with the 1%. The kids who are at the bottom naturally need more individual help than the other kids. I don't feel that it's the top kids that are getting less. I think it's the kids in the middle. It's your average students. You're either dealing with kids that can't read, or you might be dealing with discipline problems. I wish every person could come into the room and get one of those aha moments where the child finally can spell the word think, or can pass an addition and subtraction facts quiz, or to be able to write a sentence with begin it with a capital letter and end it with a punctuation mark. If we could get these scores, you don't see those, there's that fine sacred line when they're doing these DPI with the testing. And you can have a child that does not meet expectations, and they can grow and grow and grow through the year, and you see it, and the parents can see it, but nobody at the state level sees it, because even with that growth, it never pushes them to the next level. And I think we depend too much on the test scores. I wish we didn't have to do them. It puts a lot of pressure on the kids, it puts pressure on the staff, and I wish we could just eliminate them.
Thank you. Angie, what are your best hopes for the future of the school district? How would your aspirations help our district, our students, and the Antigo community?
Well, first, excuse me. Well, first off, I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record up here, but we really need to focus on our school climate. We need to, get kids where they're being held accountable. We need to invest in our youth. We need to focus on academics, responsibility, and teach accountability to our kids. We need to realign their strategies to focus on teaching reading, math, writing, science. I feel like we need to show kids a mentorship program. We need, and not just for the kids that are getting into trouble or anything. I'm talking about a mentorship program for all of our students that will teach them different things on life. If our teachers can't teach them how to go into a bank and open a bank account, our mentorship program could. And there's grants for these type of programs. That's the other good thing of this. That would help fund it. Showing kids examples of people that have been successful. What did they go through with their challenges? How did they handle failure? Because failure is part of life, and right now we're not teaching our kids how to handle failure at all. How did they handle those challenges that they came across, and what made them push through to be successful and show off their success so that the kids can see it? We need to bring in these real life examples to our kids. And I also would say we need to partner more with our employers and our technical colleges. And I'm not talking about just going to showing up at their meetings to see what they're doing. I'm talking about actual working partnerships to create a plan that you have actionable items to do.
Thank you. Dave, what are your best hopes for the future of the school district? How would your aspirations help our district, our students, and the Antigo community?
I guess my biggest hope would be that every child that comes to our school district and every employee that works in this school district feels safe every day and every minute that they're in our buildings. Of course, I want student achievement to improve. I want every child to do well. I feel that we have to change our math curriculum. We have to change our reading curriculum because that's the key to everything. And we can use ESSER funds to purchase new curriculums that the money that we'll have over 3 years will be out 5 to 10. And the other part is we need to have accountability. And I feel that's the biggest problem in our district. Students must be held accountable by our teachers. Our teachers must be held accountable by our principals. Our principals must be held accountable by the district administrator. The district administrator must be held accountable by the school board. And finally, the school board must be held accountable by the community.
Thank you. Christian, what are your best hopes for the future of the school district? How would your aspirations help our district, our students, and the Antigo community?
So I think we need to provide all the students with the opportunity to excel, and the best way to do this is to keep incentive in the schools and recognize the students who are doing well. When you read a sports article in the paper, everybody knows who the top scorer is. Well, for some kids, all they have is academics, and they should get that same recognition. There needs to be a separation of high honors and honor roll in the newspaper because they work darn hard to get on the high honor roll, and you should know that. If you get an A+, your paper should be hung up for everyone to see. That student that Mary's talking about that works so hard all year, if they get their paper hung up for the whole class to see, that would mean so much to them. So providing that incentive for them to continue to do well. There's talk about getting rid of our grading scale, basically moving everything to pass-fail. So these middle students who are being missed, and I completely agree with that, if we remove that grading scale to pass-fail, are we going to push those middle learners up, or are we going to push them down to bare minimum? If you remove incentive, you're going to remove hard work. We saw that when we sent the kids home with COVID and everything moved to pass-fail. Guess what? The kids stopped doing the work. That's not helping anybody. That's not providing graduates that are ready for the workforce. So we need to keep the incentive and the recognition for students who are doing well.
Thank you.
That concludes our list of questions. We now have the 2-minute closing statements, and we're going to draw for the order of those.
Dave Bardo.
My vision is to take every student, no matter their color, faith, or creed, to the maximum of their individual ability. We have to have our students to be job ready, military ready, tech school ready, college ready when they graduate. Leadership in this district needs to be held accountable by the taxpayers. Leadership of the board majority and Dorr Street need to be held accountable. For almost 50 years, the Antigo School Board has been run by a majority of liberals. It is imperative that we flip the board and give the majority to the conservatives that are currently on the board. Danny, Jill, and I need help. I not only need your votes, but I also need you to vote for Angie and Kristen. We need to do this for our kids, our teachers, our community, our employers, and it's up to this community to make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you. Mary Neufeld?
Well, I thought I knew what I was going to say for my closing statement. I didn't know that we could do certain things, but I'm going to take the high road. We're facing a lot of difficult things in our district. Teacher retention, achievement scores. I don't feel that whether a board is liberal or not liberal has anything to do with test scores. I personally, and I know I'm not the only one, feels that the school board should be a bipartisan body. It doesn't matter what your political beliefs are. You're here for the kids. You're here for the staff. You're here, and you know what? I don't want my taxes to go up. Okay, I'm just gonna say I'm here for the kids. I'm here for the staff. I'm here for the community. I'm involved in the community. You know, you look at our Antigo Pride logo, and it says, and it's the big tough red robin, not just the red robin, and it says, "Be safe, be respectful, be responsible." I genuinely love and care about this community and this school district. And I'd like to thank you three for the opportunity tonight.
Thank you. Angie?
So first off, I want to thank Tori for you for moderating, and I think that we all know that our school district is struggling, and it doesn't matter, you know, what your political beliefs are. We all can see that we're struggling. I think that we need to get back to focusing on the kids, not focus on so much the ICS equity modules and that, you know, in that direction. I think we need to get back to letting teachers teach, and we need to get back to focusing on economics, I keep saying that, academics, and bring up our student achievement. We need to focus on teaching kids responsibility and holding, like Dave said, holding kids accountable, and our teachers accountable, and our administration accountable, and we need you to hold us as board members accountable as well. We need to have that relationship with the community. We need to have the relationships with the teachers and the staff, and we need most definitely need to have that communication with our administrators. And that means that we're having real honest conversations. We're not sugarcoating presentations to make numbers look better. We are having real honest conversations about things. If something's wrong, I want to know about it. Otherwise, how can we fix anything if we don't get to the root cause? And it's so important that that we get the board, the majority of the board, to focus back on the kids. And with that, I ask not only for you to vote for me, but also to vote for Dave, to reelect him, and then also to vote for Kristen Matt Miller. We need the three of us in order to move this forward. Our biggest risk we could take, again, is to stay with the status quo and expect different results.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wayne Gagnon?
As I said at the outset, I got on the board to be a teacher's advocate. And if you advocate for the teachers, you're going to advocate for the students, because teachers love their work. They love their kids. I've talked to several teachers who have left the district, who have left teaching, and they've all said it wasn't the work, it wasn't the hours, it wasn't the kids that caused them to leave. It was a lack of respect and support. If we get teachers' input on how to improve student achievement, they know what will work and what doesn't work. By the time a teacher's been in a classroom for 5 or 10 or 15 years, they got a pretty good handle on how to teach. Let's listen to them. Teachers are lifelong learners. For example, me, up until a little over 2 years ago, I was still a student. When I was going to school in Stevens Point for my bachelor's degree, they asked what our personal philosophy of being a quality teacher was. I said, part of being a teacher, a good teacher, is not forgetting what it's like to be a student. And as lifelong learners, many of our teachers do know what it's like to be a teacher and a student. If the teachers feel valued, respected, and trusted as professionals, that's going to transmit down to the students. And the students will feel like they're important to the teacher, because teachers value their students. They love their students. You talk to any teacher and they'll talk about my kids, as you alluded to. And I think we need to just, if we're going to make any changes in education, we need teacher input to make it successful. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike Boldig.
Well, hearing the comments from everyone, I think a point I want to make is this. Over the last couple months, I've been attending board meetings, and I've heard more discussion about uniforms for athletic teams and the band than I have heard conversations about education. And I thought I was going to the meeting of the Board of Uniforms. The board needs to get back and refocus on education and educational issues. And I think that I can bring a voice to the board that's going to get us back on track, and that I feel that my experience in the past as being a member of this board will be beneficial to the new creation of the board. I would appreciate your vote. I would thank all the other folks up here tonight for their input. And once again, I would appreciate your vote in the upcoming election. Thank you.
Thank you. And lastly, Christian Matt Miller.
Oh, I thought you were gonna throw it out. I truly believe we're at a crossroads with our school district, a point of no return. We're basically at the bottom, 414 out of 420. We need to do better. Our community has become a stepping stone. Professionals come here, get their couple years of experience, and move on to a different city and a different job. Why is that? The first thing parents look at before they determine where they live is the school district. We need to become a district that people want to come to, not run from. How we do that is by putting accountability back into our schools, from the students to administration. By electing Angie, David, and myself, we will join the efforts of Jill Maddock-Nelson and Danny Pyatt and get our district back on track. We will set expectations and hold administration accountable to meet those expectations. We will provide teachers the resources, but even more, the support they need to regain the respect of their students. We will make sure parents and community members' concerns are heard and their opinions play a role in decision making. We will make sure all students have the opportunity to advance, to learn, and to graduate ready to take on the next step, whether that is college-bound, military, or entering the workforce. We will let teachers teach and allow parents to parent. At the end of the day, I'm a mother. I'm a mother running for the school board because I want my children to be successful. I want them to feel safe going to school and getting the education that they deserve. I want our kids to graduate ready to take on the next step, to be impactful in the workforce or head to college. And more than anything, I want people to want to come to Antigo so that we can thrive again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's give everybody a round of applause. That concludes our forum for this evening. We'd like to thank all the candidates for their participation in the forum and wish all of them good luck in the election We'd also like to thank Tori and Mary Kay for moderating and their great work tonight. Absolutely. And I'd like to thank all of you for attending and all of you watching at home and remind you all to vote April 5th. Thank you.